no Shaughnessy's, no Twins, but somebody will have the luck of the Irish this afternoon. Stay tuned and find out who that might be next, as the Major Arena Soccer League presents the Florida Tropics as they host the Kansas City Comets. Greetings all, and thank you for choosing to spend a few minutes of your day today with us here at the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida for this MASL South Central Division matchup between the Comets and the Tropics. It's the third meeting of the season between these two clubs. For the Comets, a very important matchup. They continue to try and hold off the St. Louis Ambush and the Orlando Seawolves for second spot in the division. Why is that important? Well, that is the second and final playoff berth that is available. Right now, Kansas City just a game up on St. Louis, and after a win 9-7 Friday in Orlando against the Seawolves, the Comets' cushion, if you can call it that, is just a game and a half. The Tropics, well, it's been a very difficult season, marred with all kinds of injuries, but one of the constants has been Victor Pereras. He is continuing to lead the Tropics in points this year with 10 goals and 12 assists, steadying influence at the midfield spot, and he will look to hook up with his buddy Ricardo Dieguez and others on the front line as the Tropics try and get the offense fired up. They did not score in the first half Friday night in losing to Orlando. When you talk about the Kansas City Comets, the first name that comes to mind, obviously, is Leo Gibson. He's certainly not the beginning and end of the Comets offense. And Anthony Grant, by the way, had the hat trick last night in Orlando, but Leo Gibson is an MVP candidate. You name an offensive category in the league, goals, assists, total points, he is right there among the league leaders, and he will have to be kept in check tonight if the Tropics want to come home a win. Very important, as we said, in the South Central. Milwaukee, not surprisingly, kind of ran away with the division. They have the first playoff spot sewn up. But there you can see Kansas City, St. Louis, and Orlando all tightly bunched as we come down to the final weeks of the regular season. And by the way, St. Louis is playing Milwaukee this afternoon and has an early lead on the Wave. So we will keep a close eye on that one, as that will have a major playoff implication as well. So lots on the line here this afternoon in Lakeland, Florida, especially for the Comets. And we will be back with all the St. Patrick's Day action in just a moment. Underway here in Lakeland, Florida, first minute of the first quarter as the Comets and Florida Tropics do battle on this St. Patrick's Day special. Might be Selection Sunday for most of the country. It's Soccer Sunday here in Central Florida. Here's a long header down to Ricardo Dieguez. Thought he might have Manfoot making a run. He did not. Interception, though, by Kyle Ruiz at the center circle and over to Anthony Arrico. Both these clubs have faced Orlando this weekend. The Tropics falling in Orlando Friday night 6-3. Did not score in the first half. Tried to mount a comeback in the final two quarters, but that fell short. Last night at the Silver Spurs Arena, the Comets defeating the Seawolves, a big win for Kansas City, 9-7. Seawolves really just never could quite get over the hump. They were chasing it right from the start. Here's Robbie Aristodamo with it for the Tropics. Over to J.P. Reyes, couple of veterans. Good interception by Kansas City. They'll get a 3-on-2 opportunity here. This is Lucas Rodriguez with it. Rodriguez pulls it to the near post. Wide rebound, shot blocked in front. Thinks Hugo Silva got a piece of that one early. First good scoring chance either way. As Reyes will settle things down back to his netminder, Hugo Silva, in his first season with the Tropics after 2 years with the Harrisburg Heat. Of course, his counterpart, Mark Saxby, taking over full-time for the Comets with the mid-season retirement of Brett Petracek. And Mark has played well. Here's Dieguez, top of the arc, has it blocked. Still loose in there. Marangoni can't track it down, taken out of there by Robert Palmer. And then taken right back by Fibo Arriaga. Tropics will send some fresh legs out here. It's Victor Pereiras. Tried to get it through a couple of people. Now here's Rafa Alves. Alves on the right side. Marangoni shot. Go! Enzo Marangoni goes far post. And less than 2 minutes in, the Florida Tropics, something they have not had a lot this year, an early lead, 1-0. Good pressure by the Tropics. You figured that they would try and do that with a little bit fresher legs. Saxby got just a piece of it, but not enough as Enzo Marangoni celebrates with a backflip. He is quite an athlete. Participated a few years ago in the International Ironman Games. That's how athletic he is. One of the fastest players actually in the entire league. And that is something that the Tropics will want on the floor tonight because Kansas City, one of the speedier teams in the MASL. For Marangoni, his third of the year. He has missed most of the season with injury, as have a number of Tropics players, including their leading goal getter, Marangoni. There's a good save off the foot of Anthony Arrico as Saxby again tested early. So the Tropics with good early pressure. The injury list for the Tropics continues to grow, by the way. Lucas Teixeira, who had only played in 5 games at the start of the season, got hurt in late December, was out until last week, re-injured the hip, so he is out again. Here's the steal, Andre Brathwaite shot, and just got a piece of it, did John Sosa defensively. Good recovery by Sosa. But a corner kick restart here for the Tropics. Brathwaite, of course, spent some time with the Comets a few years back, so he is familiar to a lot of Kansas City fans. Back after a 2-game suspension after an altercation March 2nd in Orlando. Just a little dust-up, really, but because of his past transgressions, a 2-game suspension was meted out. Here's a shot. Go! What a start for the Tropics! So Florida with a 2-0 lead. Here in the first 3 minutes of the game. Matt Clare will get it. He's wearing number 2 here this afternoon. He was out last week with concussion symptoms, but Matt Clare, who normally wears number 99, and Kim Rudven has taken a timeout. So we will step aside as well. Less than 4 minutes gone here in Lakeland. It's the Tropics 2, Comets no score. Back in a moment. So the Florida Tropics with an early 2-0 lead. Kim Rudven, one of the all-time greats in the history of the sport, behind the Kansas City bench, wanted to settle things down, understandable. Here's Arico with it. Arico gets it down to Arriaga, took a bad bounce off the dashboards, and Arriaga wasn't able to create an opportunity. Diegas in there to cause a problem, but Saxby covers up. Kansas City will counter now as James Tagba had it and taken away by Arriaga. Lots of pressure here early on by Florida. That, as I said, to be expected. Not that their legs are tons fresher than Kansas City, but having played Friday night instead of last night, advantaged Florida. Here's Kyle Ruiz with it across the yellow line. Ruiz shot Saxby with a save on the short side. Rebound comes out to Leo Gibson. Elvis challenges. Gibson will come out of there with it. And it's over to Ignacio Flores, number 23. Tried to get it deep into the Florida end of the field, and it takes a bounce over the boards out of play. He was looking for Anthony Grant, who had 3 goals last night for Orlando in that 9-7 win that gave the Comets a touch of breathing room in the South Central, if there is such a thing. It has been airtight all season long between Kansas City, the surprising ambush, and Orlando. For all the world, the Tropics thought they would be part of that mix this year. They opened the season with a 9-4 win over St. Louis, but injuries were a problem right from the get-go. That opening night, no Ricardo Diegas, no Freddie Mugin. They had accounted for 50 of the team's 141 goals the previous season, so things were dicey right from the get-go. Brathwaite with a shot, Saxby with a save. Here's a rebound and almost a bicycle kick try by Clare in the box. Broken up at the last minute by Robert Palmer. But again, the Tropics with some good opportunities here early. And if you're Kim Rudven and the Comets, I guess the idea at the moment is just weather this early storm. Last we saw, St. Louis was leading Milwaukee in Milwaukee 3-1 midway through the second quarter. That would be the upset of all upsets in the MASL, just about. I can't remember the exact number. It's either 23 or 24 straight wins for the Wave over the Ambush in that series. And that one's in Milwaukee. Into the Florida end of the field, comes off the dashboard, shot on the volley, and Kevin Ellis mishits that one. Out of play. Of course, the Comets, the Seawolves, and even the Tropics rooting for Milwaukee in that one. Every game so critical now here as we wind down to the final few weeks of the regular season, ends the second weekend of April. As we know, with Milwaukee, one of the 2 playoff spots already secured in the South Central. Here's Ramon Palmer with it, as his pocket picked by Victor Pereira gets it out to Dieguez. Arico will get in the foot race with John Sosa, just a little bit ahead of the field for Dieguez. Here's Gibson. Gibson has a break. Shot. Goal. Boy, you just can't give Leo Gibson space like that. Great shield by Gibson to hold up the defender to allow the ball to sail over both of their heads, and then Gibson was able to pick it up and beat J.P. Reyes and Hugo Silva to make it 2-1, 29th of the year now for Leo Gibson. And that's a big goal for the Kansas City Comets, as that will stem some of the Tropics momentum. Gibson had 2 last night in Orlando. Certainly an MVP candidate this year. Arriaga will take a look downfield for Florida here. Looking for Maicon Franca, making his first appearance this afternoon. Taken away, though, by Kansas City. And is Palmer with it. Gets it up to Kyle Williams. Into the Florida end of the field. Shot. Oh, and that one was just whistled by Gibson. Almost had his second in 2 minutes. Manfoot gets it to Franca. Tried to feed Arriaga, but back defensively was Nacho for the Comets. Cleared into the midfield area by Dieguez. Ruiz will settle it. Brings it into the Comets end of the field to Antonio Manfoot. Manfoot pushed off the ball. Gibson with it. He'll find some space to Flores, who will head to the bench on a line change. It's Andre Brathwaite with some pressure. Comets looking for a little room to operate. Finally up to Tagba at the midfield line. Brathwaite and Tagba battle. Tagba will win it back to Palmer, but taken away by Brathwaite. Gets it over to Manfoot. Manfoot shot, and that wasn't perfectly struck, but does skitter just wide of the far post. Ruiz with a whistle and a foul against the Tropic midfielder there. Comets with that win last night in Orlando, back over the 500 mark. The only team in the division besides Milwaukee to be able to make that claim at the moment. Here's a steal. This is Ellis moving into the zone, 3-on-2, shot off the glass wide. Alves comes back in to control the rebound, as Anthony Grant couldn't find the magic that he had last night in Orlando. Here's Dieguez. Dieguez gets it through to Alves. Rafa Alves with it. Tried to find Claire in front just a little bit too quick, as Claire got there a half step too late. Counter for the Comets now. Sosa with it, and that one goes high and out of play. It'll be a restart from the top of the arc, or are they going to say it's a corner kick? I think a corner kick instead. Yep. Still a restart opportunity from a dangerous spot. Better than top of the arc, but dangerous nonetheless. And I believe somebody wants to talk about it and has taken a second time out here of the quarter. Our thanks to Regal Auto for presenting this afternoon's starting lineups. Regal Lakeland has a huge selection of new Hondas, Acuras, GMCs, Kias, and Chevrolets, or the best pre-owned inventory anywhere. Go online to learn more at regallakeland.com or stop by one of their dealerships on Bartow Road or Lakeland Hills Boulevard. Talk about just how good Leo Gibson is. He has gotten at least 1 point in every game so far this year, but 2. And you go back a long ways for that at least 1 point a game streak for Gibson. in the Comets' last 55 games going back to the start of the 2016-2017 season, which was Florida's first in the MASL. Leo has at least 1 point in 51 of 55 games since that time. These two clubs have played twice this season, and the Comets will return back here to the RP Funding Center on March 30th. We hope you'll join us at masl.tv, and a special hello to our friends out in Kansas City this afternoon watching on KMCI television. Trying to root the Comets home to a weekend sweep here in the Sunshine State. Tropics' second visit to Silverstein Family Arenas a month or so ago was pretty typical of how the season has gone for Florida. It was a 4-4 game at halftime. There were no goals at all in the second half until 5 seconds in the game were remaining, and Leo Gibson was taken down. A shootout was awarded properly, and of course Leo converted, and the Comets got the game winner with 2.5 seconds to go. Been that kind of year for the Tropics. Here's the corner kick restart, and that's a pretty one. Through traffic and a goal.
Goal for the Kansas City Comets.
And just like that, Kansas City has tied it up. Pretty set piece for Brian Perez to finish off on the redirect. So the Comets have settled things down. Just as Kim Rudvin had planned, I'm sure. I know one of the messages that Florida coach Clay Roberts had for his club before the game this afternoon, that defense will win it. And they will have to tighten things down a bit defensively, especially on those restarts. Here's that speed we talked about with Kansas City. This is Palmer with it. Palmer will control, didn't have much help, so he brings it back out to the midfield area and will go to the bench on a line change. Pass ahead to Williams here, being watched by J.P. Reyes. It was Rodriguez briefly with it, back to Palmer now. Palmer will get the return pass and has a little room to operate now. Good recovery by Brathwaite. Gets it back out to Nacho. Kansas City will try and build forward here. Marangoni with a challenge. He'll be whistled for the foul. Got to be careful with Kansas City too on quick restarts. They got a pretty restart goal last night in Orlando on a very, very quick restart. Very fair, very legal, but very quick. Caught the Seawolves flat-footed and was able to convert as Brathwaite thought he might catch Saxby off the line, but Mark had sniffed that one out. Here's a diagonal ball deep into the Florida end of the field, 2-on-1, and the Tropics will come out of there with it. Brathwaite tried to lift it ahead to Marangoni, intercepted though. Nacho with it for the Comets. Gets it back to Kevin Ellis. So the Tropics get the first two of the game. The Comets the next two. We're all square at 2 here. Wholesale changes now for both clubs. The Tropics' 2 goals came within a span of 44 seconds. Marangoni the first, and then Matt Clare at the 3:18 mark. That's when Rundved called the timeout to settle the troops. Kansas City's goals coming about 2.5 minutes apart. It was Gibson at 6:21, Perez at 8:56. Pereiras in for Ricardo Dieguez, coming off a 4-goal game last weekend. Tough 7-6 loss here to the Ambush. He's another of the walking wounded, although it's an injured shoulder, and so he's able to play. Here's Ellis on a counter. Ellis, little cross ball. That is Grant, and he just could not control it. Tropics may have gotten away with one there just a little bit. Arriaga with it. Over to Ruiz now. Easy to tell Arriaga with the pink patch on the top of his head. Surprised he didn't go green for St. Patrick's Day today. Well, I don't think Fibo Arriaga is exactly the most Irish of names. Here's Andre Brathwaite with it. Brathwaite cross to Ruiz. Ruiz tries to create an opportunity, and Gibson is going to be called for a foul. And this will be a dangerous restart spot for the Tropics as Ruiz a little bit shaken up on the takedown. This will be just outside the penalty arc to the right of Saxby, just a little.
Tropics fans, we're in striking distance.
Ruiz will, I think, stay out there. See who Matt Clear may want to set up here, unless it's Brathwaite that'll end up taking the shot. We'll see. Brathwaite will approach, fires, and doesn't quite get all the way through to Saxby. Good wall presence by the Comets there. They had a little bit of a problem with that in a game against Orlando out in Kansas City a while ago. Bad break there for Sosa. So he had quite a bit of space down the left side to operate and accidentally knocked it up over the boards and on a play. Alvis with it. Gets it over to Robbie Aristodamo, one of the coaches up at the very elite Montverde Academy outside of Orlando. Great soccer program aligned with Orlando City now. Always plays with a lot of hustle and heart as he winds down his professional soccer career. Usually see Robbie behind the bench in street clothes, but with the injuries such as they are for the Tropics, he is dressed and playing here this afternoon, second time this season. Here's a chance for the Comets. Shot, good block by Alvis on the defense. This is Palmer with the approach, and instead he sends it back out to Palmer now. Alvis tries to clear the zone. Silva will bang it off the boards. Takes kind of a funny bounce shot and a goal on the volley by James Tagba. Hugo Silva was kind of trying to redirect some traffic there. And while he was doing that, Robert Palmer hit it on the volley and surprised everyone, including Silva. So the Comets have stormed back with three straight. Lead it now 3-2. Now Alvis could not clear the zone, and Silva really couldn't either. Tried to use the dasher boards to do it, but it really just popped out in front right near the top of the arc, and Robert Palmer right there to take advantage. This is Aristodamo with it, being watched by Williams, ahead to Antonio Manfoot. Had a goal in Orlando Friday night in front of the folks who were down in the Sunshine State celebrating. Here's Brathwaite, tried to make a steal. Great defensive play by Sosa. He is one of the premier defenders in the MASL and showed it right there. Here's Arico now. Tropics would love to get an equalizer here before the end of the quarter after such a strong start. Off the boards to Brathwaite. Brathwaite 1 against 3, and that was an easy takeaway for the Comets. Williams now to Ellis, being challenged by Arico. Intercepted by Alvis. Brathwaite with it. Brathwaite, long shot. Saxby the save. Header, rebound, goal! Rafa Alvis gets his first of the season. Good effort by Rafa as he fought through the Kansas City defense and used his big frame to get his head on it. And Saxby had no chance. Over there celebrating with Guilherme and Lucas Montoleras, two of the Tropics' best players who continue to be out of the lineup with injuries. But a big goal for Florida. After that great start, they had given it all back and then some. Now Arriaga challenges. There's a shot, and that will be halfway to Alturas. Anthony Grant had an idea from distance, but was not close.
With the assist from Andre Brathwaite. On his goal came at the 26-second mark in the first quarter. That's his first goal of the season. So
Alvis had come in previously with 2 assists from his defensive spot this year, but no goals. Here's Diegues. Diegues gets it off the board to Matt Clare. Leaves it for Victor Pereira. Pereira with a shot. Goal! Well, we were hoping for 1, but we'll take 2. Victor Pereira surprises everybody, including Mark Saxby. Goes 5-hole, and the Tropics have regained the advantage. A 7-goal quarter here in Lakeland to entertain this St. Patrick's Day crowd. For Victor, his 11th of the year. This might be one of those crazy ones, although, as we said, that game in Kansas City a month or so ago, it was 4-4 at intermission, and then no goals in the entire second half until there was 2.5 seconds to play in the game. So here's Gibson, long shot right on Silva, and he will make the easy save, and time will expire. So a very entertaining first 15 minutes here in Lakeland this afternoon. The Tropics with the first 2, Kansas City with the next 3, and then the Tropics with 2 late ones. It's the Florida Tropics 4, the Kansas City Comets 3. Back with more MASL soccer in just a moment. Back here at the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida, just underway with second quarter action. The Tropics with a late rally, 2 goals in the final minute to take a 4-3 lead. Welcome to the wild, wacky world of indoor soccer. Here's Arico with a little bit of a bouncing shot that Saxby covers up without a problem. Pressured by Brathwaite. Now Pereiras, but Comets will break the press. This is Alexi Cortez making his first shift as Gibson and Hugo Silva battle for the loose ball. Whistle is called against Gibson finally. Cortez, number 14 for the Tropics this afternoon, making his second appearance all year. Pereiras with it over to Arriaga now. Back to Alexi Cortez. Into Diegues. Team leader for the Tropics in goal this year with 17 now after that 4-goal game a week ago. Did not score in Orlando on Friday. Here's Aristodemo, leaves it off for JP Reyes. Milwaukee and St. Louis tied at 3 now. Winding down action at the UW Panther Arena in the third quarter there. Ambush had led 3-1 for a long time. Here's Matt Clare fighting through. Clare leaves it for Diegues. And Tropics need a line change here, so they will get it back out to the midfield circle. Matt Clare comes on along with Andre Brathwaite. Brathwaite is tough one-on-one. 6'2" size, and he's able to hold off Robert Palmer, who was trying to take it away. Alvis with it. Over to Pereiras now. There's a shot that just misses. Here's a chance for Ramon Palmer, but he is called for the foul taking down Alvis. Those 2 goals by the Tropics, one at 14:37, the other at 14:54. So just 14 seconds apart for Alvis to tie it, and Pereiras the go-ahead goal. Marangoni gets it to Diegues, blocked in there nicely by Robert Palmer. They've got Ramon Palmer, number 5, Robert Palmer, number 51. Both out there right now. Ramon, in fact, up top. Kind of a 3-2 defensive look here for Kansas City. Leo Gibson at the middle of that top line at the yellow line. Here's Pereiras. Over to Reyes. A little challenge in there by Tagba. To Aristodemo. Robbie down to Diegues. Can't control it. Comets will counter. This is Tagba. Tagba taken down by Diegues. No blue card, but a foul. Tropics would do themselves well to stay out of the penalty box this afternoon. Kansas City has the best power play unit in the MASL. There's a chance in front, knocked away by Reyes, but then restolen. Another shot. Diegues gets a leg in there. Silva tries to clear. Diegues with it, and he'll play it back to Hugo and settle things down. Tried to reach out and get it to Marangoni, but Enzo couldn't quite catch up to it. He'll head off on a line change as Kyle Williams comes in. Williams with it at the yellow line now for Kansas City. He's got some size as well. And foot in to try and take it away. The Tropics able to do it. It's Sosa on Manfoot, or rather that was Kevin Ellis. And finally Manfoot tumbles to the turf and the whistle goes. Good work by Antonio Manfoot. He is a talented offensive player, but a heart and hustle player all over the floor. The Tropics getting him from St. Louis in a mid-January trade. He and Andre Brathwaite coming here about the same time, and they have both been terrific. Here's Manfoot with it. Tried to split the defense, knocked away by Ellis. Now Alvis will control for Florida. Back to Pereiras. Over to Rafa. Rafa, shot saved by Saxby. Here's the rebound try by Brathwaite in front of Rico, and Saxby just does cover up at the last second. And I mean the last second, last nanosecond, as Rico was streaking through the box. Sosa at the center line. Gets it down for Grant now. Double teamed in there by Claire and Anthony Arrico. Claire is able to come out of there with it. Gets it over to Victor Pereiras, who would like to run a little. Pereiras over the yellow center line. Trying to leave it for Arrico, and Anthony was heading to the bench actually on a line change, so he will head off the floor. Kaya Ruiz and Alexi Cortez come on. So does J.P. Reyes now. Matt Clare, stand out with the San Diego Sockers for many years. Of course, the Sockers in the news nationally and internationally even over the last few weeks with their signing of Landon Donovan. A lot of folks believe the Sockers and Milwaukee Wave could be on a collision course for the MASL Finals. Kansas City hoping that they might have something to say about that if indeed they hold on to that second playoff spot in the division. They would meet Milwaukee. And more than likely that first game of the series would be in Kansas City. It's a 2-game series, and if the teams split those games, they go to a 15-minute mini game to decide it. And that would, of course, be right after the conclusion of the second game, which would be in Milwaukee, which is why the team with the higher seed likes to play that second game at home, because if they have to play a mini game, they can do it on their home field in front of their home fans. Could be some teams out west, though, that have something to say about it as well. Ontario went to overtime with San Diego last week before falling. They signed Jermaine Jones, another U.S. men's national team standout. Good story on MASLsoccer.com this week about all the MLS players now dotting rosters around the league. None on the Florida roster. Here's Pereiras. Gets it back to Cortez. Cortez tried to get it down low to Marangoni, but knocked out of there by Ellis. Long ball down to Brathwaite. Brathwaite with his back to the goal. Out to Ruiz, shot, that just misses. Good strike by Kaya Ruiz, who continues to improve. Here's a chance for Arriaga. Arriaga, and a whistle and a handball called against Febo. Tropics had a 4-on-3. Febo said it was more my shoulder, man. But the officials say handball. So we'll believe him. Here's Saxby. Ramon Palmer knocking it into the Florida end of the field. Shot, that just misses near side as Nacho let it fly from 40 feet. Another shot just misses high over the crossbar. Boy, just inches away both times from Kansas City tying the ball game. No goals here in the second quarter after a 7-goal first. Milwaukee, by the way, has taken a 4-3 lead now on St. Louis. And that will make the Kansas City fans happy. See if the Wave can make it. I think it's 24 straight that Milwaukee has beaten St. Louis. So this would be an even quarter century today if the Wave can complete the comeback. Here's a shot from distance, and Silva's able to knock it out of there. Knocks it off the glass to Brathwaite. Brathwaite trying to control it. Gets it ahead for Manfoot. Saxby will come way out of the net. Cortez will keep it alive for Florida. Cortez and Nacho with a pretty spirited battle for the loose ball, and the whistle will go against Kansas City here. Arriaga will wait for a line change, so in fact he'll head off the floor himself now. Wholesale new look here for the Tropics. Claire gets it down for Diegas. Let it go through to J.P. Reyes in front. Saxby with a good play. He just got a leg on it as Diegas was making a bid for his 18th of the year. Out of play, and it'll belong to Florida. And Claire wanting a foul before the ball went out of play. Claire in 58 games for San Diego in the last 3 seasons before this one with 56 goals. Ended up with Tacoma in the offseason and came over on a trade with the Stars in the end of January. Had a car accident or had a personal injury, then look to Brooks, our official injury attorneys. Go to brookslawgroup.com or call 1-800-LAW-3030 for more information. The Tropics, with just 4 games left on this 2018-19 campaign. Speaking of Milwaukee, they'll be there next Saturday. And then Kansas City will reprise their weekend here in Florida a couple of weekends from now. They will play in Orlando on Friday night, here on Saturday, March 30th at the RP Funding Center. The final home game of the regular season for the Tropics will be Saturday, April 6th against Baltimore, and that could be a very big game for the Blast. They are in a death struggle with Utica for the top spot in that Eastern Division. Utica coming in this afternoon with just a 1-game lead over the defending 3-time MASL champion Blast. And then the finale Saturday, April 13th, back over at Silver Spurs Arena in Kissimmee against the Orlando Seawolves, and Orlando very much hoping that that game will have some significant playoff implications as well, as that is the final weekend of the regular season in the MASL, with the playoffs to start that following weekend, the 19th, 20th, and 21st, based on arena availability. The dates will be set for those teams. As we said, we know Milwaukee will be one of them. Kansas City, if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, would be the second. But St. Louis and Orlando still very much alive. The other teams that have clinched playoff spots, just 2 others, they are both out west, Monterey and San Diego. The Sockers with the best record in the MASL at 17-1. Chance for a counter here for Kansas City. This is Kyle Williams, but J.P. Reyes comes back to take it away. Over to Arrico. Anthony Arrico over to Matt Clare. Chips it ahead to Reyes and right back to Matt Clare. Florida native, his dad played for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers of the NASL. So he's got a good soccer pedigree. Intercept, and here's a run down the floor by Kevin Ellis, but he can't get it through. Comes back out to Gibson, long ball into the zone to Williams, and that is knocked well out of play, so it'll be a goal kick for Hugo Silva. Busy day in the MASL, 6 games on the docket. 12 of the league's 17 teams in action. Orlando, the only team not in action in the South Central, but that would make sense since they played Friday night and Saturday night in Kissimmee. Although, if you go back to the old days of the Kansas City Attack in the NPSL, there were weekends where NPSL teams played 3 times in 3 days, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, at least once a year for teams, and a lot of teams, I think, had to do it twice a year. Ferreras with a header into the Kansas City end of the field. Tropics have a Kansas City connection as Alves tries to head it away from Adam James. Ferreras bangs it off the boards. Chris Economides, the Tropics chief operating officer, was one of the owners of the Kansas City Attack when they won their NPSL championship. Had over 12,000 at Kemper Arena for the clinching game there. Here's Tagba, and he sends that halfway to Dundee. Chris was also one of the co-owners of the Rochester Rhinos that won the 1999 US Open Cup. Last non-MLS team to do it. And the Tropics hoping to host the U.S. Open Cup game. Their sister franchise, the Lakeland Tropics of the USL League Two, for the second straight year, invited to participate in the U.S. Open Cup. And the announcement will come April 10th as to whether or not the Tropics will get a home game or not. They actually had to wing it all the way to Texas last year for their U.S. Cup opener, falling to Midland, Odessa. Kyle Williams being challenged by Arriaga now. Arriaga gets it over to Ellis. Ellis looking for some help. We'll lay it off now to Lucas Rodriguez. He's got Robert Palmer over here being watched by Manfoot. Arriaga. Here's a 2-on-1 for the Tropics if they hurry. J.P. Reyes gets it across to Manfoot off the boards. Manfoot tried to spin and couldn't do it. Collided with a Comet. Here's Arriaga, long shot. That's blocked, never got through. Manfoot tried to keep it alive. Here's Brathwaite. Brathwaite and Arriaga trying to work some magic. Andre will slow it down now for Florida as we approach the 3-minute mark of the first half. Claire with it. Claire splits the defense, long shot, relatively easy save for Saxby. Yeagas snuck in there and forced the Comets to get rid of it quickly. Here's a break for the Comets. Chance now down low in front, and a great save by Silva, best of the game. He robs Kevin Ellis from about 20 feet. Still no goals here in the second quarter, but that is thanks to Hugo Silva's best save of the game, and Ellis still can't believe it. Nacho with it for the Comets. Gets it down Gibson with a little give and go. Shot, and that one's lifted high and wide as Ramon Palmer and Leo Gibson combine on a pretty play. Guardian Wealth Management realizes all the financial challenges that people face, whether it be managing debt or saving for college. Our mission is to help every single client meet their individual financial needs. For personal service, innovative ideas, and practical advice, go to guardianwealth.net. Long ball down into the zone. Brathwaite with it. Battles with Saxby, and Mark able to come out of there with it. There's number 99 in the St. Patrick's Day green, I guess. The officials going definitely with the Kelly green look today. A lot of green in the crowd as well. Not sure if they've got green beer in the concourse this afternoon or not. Here's a 3-on-2 for the Comets. Shot, good leg save by Silva. As Adam James looked for the equalizer. Here's Marangoni with it. Marangoni comes across the yellow line, has it knocked away by Tagba. Got a little double team help there. Here's a steal by Alvis. Alvis shot, goal! What a blast by Rafael Alvis. And you know, it's funny because last week, with all the injuries, Clay Roberts put Alvis on the front line as a target forward because of his size, and he has a very good shot, as you can see right there. He did not score. Back on the defense tonight, and he's got 2.
Goal for Tropics midfielder number 33,
He has taken shifts both ways here today. Here's a chance now for the Comets to see if they can get one right back. This is a feed in front, and Ruiz picks it up as Robert Palmer didn't have anyone there for the Comets. Manfoot with it. Manfoot ridden off the ball by Williams. Here comes Gibson now. Gibson. Cross for Williams. This is Palmer. Palmer with a long shot, and that was dangerous because Silva never saw it, but fortunately it never got through. Palmer tracks it down for Kansas City. Arriaga with the slide to try and break up the play, but Kansas City presses forward. Gibson in front. There's a takedown, and they say play on. His man foot, he's taken down with like a foul. Well, he got the foul with like a blue card. Won't get that with just under 5 seconds to play here. So a pretty good first half for the Tropics. They, for all the world, look like they will head to the break with a 5-3 advantage. Scored 2 goals in the first 3 minutes of the game, then gave up 3 straight before getting 2 within a span of 14 seconds right before the end of the first quarter. And the only goal here in the second, the roof job by Alves. Hugo, we know, has got a pretty big shot. He'll lift it into the zone. Ruiz a little too tall in there for him, and the Comets will be able to run out the clock. So that's only the half of it here in Lakeland this afternoon. The more to come sign is up as the Tropics and Kansas City Comets head to intermission with a 5-3 Florida lead. Back with more MASL soccer in just a moment. Halftime here in Lakeland, Florida, as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. The Comets trail at 5-3. Kind of a wild and woolly first quarter, and the second quarter a little tamer. We take a look at that first quarter summary with 7 goals. Marangoni and Clare just less than a minute apart to give Florida that early lead, and then 3 straight by Kansas City, including Leo Gibson's 29th of the year. But the Tropics with a rally. Rafa Alves his first of 2, and then just 14 seconds after Rafa tied it, it was Victor Pereira's with his 11th of the year, and that's where we stood after 1-4-3. And in the second, just that lone goal, the steal and shot by Rafa Alves with just 65 ticks of the clock remaining, making it 5-3 as we wind down the first 30 minutes. Let's take a look at some of those goals and some of that action here early on. That's the Enzo Marangoni marker at the 2:34 mark. That gave the Tropics an early lead. Actually, that was Matt Clare's goal, the second of the game. And then Kansas City, Leo Gibson with just a little too much room to operate, and a pretty restart goal as John Sosa set up Brian Perez right in front of the Tropics goal. And then the third in a row, Tagba with the marker at 13-19, and Kansas City was on top. But then the pretty header by Rafa Alves on the rebound of the Andre Brathwaite shot made it 4-3 heading into the second quarter. Victor Pereira's with that goal with just 6 seconds to go. And then Alves with the only goal of the second quarter, that great shot after the steal over the fallen Mark Saxby. So that's where we stand after 30 minutes of play. The Tropics 5-3. We'll be back with more of halftime here at the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida in just a moment. A very, very busy day in the Major Arena Soccer League. 5 other games on the docket besides this one here in Central Florida this afternoon. And the way things are going, who knows, it could be upset Sunday, not selection Sunday in the MASL. One game that's not up there, the Utica City FC is losing big to Mississauga at home, 8-3, and that is a stunner. Equally stunning would be the fact if St. Louis could come back to beat the Wave. They were ahead 3-1 most of the game. The Wave have come to life in the second half and now have a 5-4, make it 6-4 lead as we talk now in the fourth. So Milwaukee perhaps going to do the rest of the South Central a favor. The Comets, the Tropics, and the Orlando Seawolves all definitely rooting for Milwaukee in that one. A little bit later on, a big one in Baltimore as the Harrisburg Heat renew their rivalry with the 3-time defending champion Blast. And if that score holds up in Utica and the Blast can beat the Heat, Baltimore and Utica would be tied for first in the Eastern Division. Couple of games out west. It'll be Rio Grande Valley, the RGV Barracudas against the Dallas Sidekicks, and Monterey and El Paso will kick it off a little bit later on as well. So a very, very busy Sunday in the MASL. As we said, Milwaukee, the team that everyone is chasing and will not catch, at least in the regular season in the MASL South Central. As we take a look at the remaining games, not many for all these teams. It's a 24-game regular season. The Tropics will have just 4 games left after this afternoon. They will go to Milwaukee next weekend and then be right back here on the 30th of March against Kansas City before finishing the regular season with a home game on the 6th against Baltimore and a road game against the Orlando Seawolves. And that will be the regular season finale on Saturday, April 13th. So Kansas City will have to do it all again in a couple of weeks here in Florida. It'll be a Friday-Saturday affair in Orlando and here in Lakeland instead of a Saturday-Sunday, but back-to-back games nonetheless again for the Comets that weekend. We'll be back and get ready for the start of the third quarter in just a moment. More Major Arena Soccer League action to come. Don't go away. By the way, we mentioned that the Tropics have 4 games left after this afternoon's affair, as both the Comets and Tropics head back to the floor to get ready for third quarter action. The Comets, by the way, also have 4 games left. We'll talk about that in just a moment as we take a look at the halftime stats right now. 16 shots for the Tropics, 10 for Kansas City. Mark Saxby busy between the pipes for the Comets with 9 saves. The fouls were 4 apiece, and as we mentioned in that first half, no power plays either way, and that is especially good news for the Tropics, as Kansas City has the best man advantage unit in the league, although the Tropics power play is in the upper third of, or rather the Tropics penalty kill is in the upper third of the MASL as well, so would be a little bit power on power, but the Tropics just as happy if they do not allow Kansas City a man advantage this afternoon. So for Kansas City, just one chance left to go see the Comets, and it's a big one, and they could certainly use your support next Saturday, March 23rd. If you're watching out in Kansas City, as the rival St. Louis Ambush will be in town. That will be in the South Central playoff race, as the Ambush and Kansas City. That one, in a lot of ways, could actually determine the outcome of the race. And then the Comets will do 3 on the road. They will finish out with the back-to-back, as we've talked about, the final weekend of March, the 29th and 30th here in Florida. And then, I guess good news, you know, a lot of times coaches don't particularly like a week off during the regular season, but at this time of year, when you're battling some bumps and bruises, Kim Rudvent probably will welcome a little time off. They will have a bye weekend that first weekend in April before traveling to Milwaukee to conclude the regular season on Sunday, April 14th. And who knows, that could be a win or go home game for the Comets as well. So kind of a tough road to hoe here over the final couple of weeks of the season, with 4 out of 5 on the road to finish, including 3 straight. The Tropics, first 2 years in the league, had this very similar situation. They had to finish their regular season with 4 straight on the road because of the Florida State High School Basketball Championships being held here in Lakeland. But with the change of the MASL calendar this year, the Tropics getting 3 of their last 5 at home, which is a little bit of a change. Underway here in the third quarter, Ricardo Dieguez lays it off for Manfoot. Gets it back to Ricardo. Long shot and a good save by Saxby, who would come off his line. I think Ricardo surprised people with that bid from distance. Here's Alvis looking for a hat trick. Rafael Alvis with some space, but didn't get a lot on the shot. Tries to follow it up. Anthony Arrico with a header back into the Kansas City zone, but the Comets will control. This is Brian Perez with it. Perez over the center line. Alvis picks him up there. Dieguez with a challenge as well. Manfoot with some pressure, but Sosa will set things up here now for the Comets down to Grant. Grant in the corner to Williams. Alvis on him. In front, and good opportunity for Grant, just couldn't quite get the redirect. Alvis, well, he's not going to have to worry about Leo Gibson getting the ball because it takes a fortuitous bounce for the Tropics. Ovation Bistro and Bar is the best smokehouse in Central Florida, with amazing food and an $8.99 daily lunch special at all 3 locations in Winter Haven, Davenport, and now right here in Lakeland. Ovation Bistro and Bar's food speaks for itself. Ovation Bistro and Bar, where doing the extraordinary is ordinary. Arriaga will step up here. Numbers for the Tropics. 4 on 3. Arriaga leaves it for Brathwaite. Brathwaite, though, in the corner, gets trapped by the boards there and double teamed and now almost triple teamed. Reyes will control it for the Tropics, and he'll send it all the way back now to Hugo Silva. Both teams will send fresh troops onto the pitch. Ruiz being watched closely by Nacho, who will challenge Silva now. Good pressure by Nacho Flores, and Silva just clears it over the boards and out of play. So the pressure by
keeping the Tropics in peak performance.
Flores will result in a kick in here for Kansas City, and they're going to do it from the top of the penalty arc. So even though Kansas City didn't make the steal, they get a tremendous scoring opportunity out of the pressure by Ignacio Flores. Sosa, Gibson, it'll be a layoff to Gibson, a shot, and that's blocked in there by Matt Clare. Matt Clare on the counter, but Leo Gibson is going to win that race handily, and actually it was Kevin Ellis, not Gibson, that got back. On the left side here to Sosa. Alvis in defensively against Perez. Alvis gets it to Marangoni. Marangoni will just clear the zone. Zaxby was out over his yellow line, so Kansas City will counter again quickly. This is Ellis. Ellis gets it across the floor looking for Tagba, but Marangoni will recover, and again the Tropics just clear, but Brathwaite will knock down Sosa, and then Brathwaite takes a shot. It did not hear the whistle, and I think Zaxby a little bit upset that Brathwaite let that hard shot fly. He and Lucas Rodriguez, and Zaxby also having a word. Mark, I think, is okay with it. He gives a little low five to Brathwaite, which is good sportsmanship on Mark's part. Credit to him. Was not a real strong whistle, to be perfectly honest. No blue card, just a foul against Brathwaite. Here's Sosa with a long ball into the Florida zone. Handball called against Nacho on a kind of a funny bounce off the Dashers.
They handle any type of work from residential to commercial and much, much more. For more information about their work, go to furryblackman.com.
Silva again drives it to no one in particular. And again, Kansas City gets quick possession. Ellis with it. Down to Leo Gibson now. Gibson with one in the first quarter tonight, is 29th of the year. He's got more than double the points of the second leading point getter on the Comets. Robert Palmer with it. Over to Ellis. Ellis tries to get it into the box. Two Tropics and two Comets players collide. It was Gibson and Flores in there, and Alvis and Manfoot, and they all went tumbling, and the Tropics control it. Here's Pereiras. Pereiras with it, tries to get it to Diegues. Diegues, shot, oh, and a great defensive play. And then a handball, and that wasn't called. I guess it will be called. Out of the box, though, by Robert Palmer. It was inadvertent while he was on the seat of his pants, but clearly a handball. So the Tropics at least will get a very dangerous restart chance here from just outside the box, halfway between the corner kick spot and the side of the penalty box. So Kansas City will pack all 5 of its players within about 15 feet of the goal line. Manfoot, let's see where he goes with it. Gets it to Pereira, shot knocked off the line. That's why you pack everyone back there. As it got by Zaxby, but it was Ramon Palmer making the nice defensive play. Here's the counter now. Chance for the Comets off the boards. Ellis can't quite get it to Gibson. Pereiras on Leo there. Banged in front by Gibson, but an easy pickup for Silva. Looks for the long outlet for Brathwaite. Gets behind the Kansas City defense. Palmer, though, does a nice job shielding Brathwaite from the ball, and Zaxby's able to pick it up. Some pretty physical action here early on. Ellis gets it back to Robert Palmer. Perez into the Florida end of the field, but only Anthony Arrico there. Arrico tripped up by Tagba, and there's the whistle and a foul against Tagba. Even the popcorn bags have shamrocks on them today here. Feel like I should have worn the green tie, not the orange one. Had to go with the Tropics colors, though, even though it's St. Patrick's Day. Gibson will be picked up by Alvis. Rafa comes out of there with it. Tropics control to Brathwaite.
Florida.
Rico. Long ball down to Ricardo Diegues. Tried to hit Ruiz with a header, Ruiz with a shot, and that goes well up out of play, but it's deflected off the foot of Robert Palmer, so it'll be a corner kick, Florida. They came close just a couple of minutes ago, if not for the good defensive play by Ramon Palmer. Manfoot will be the trigger man here. Played it off to Pereira, who took another whack at it, and 2 whacks for $1, but no prize for the Tropics. Here's a challenge in front, and Saxby just did get it away from Manfoot at the last second. Here's Pereiras. Gets it ahead to Marangoni. Marangoni with it. Manfoot tries to get it in front. Marangoni with pressure. Nice defensive work by the Comets to get out of the zone. Counter now for Palmer, who's taken down, a whistle and a foul against the Tropics. Anthony Arico doesn't quite believe it. But Kansas City will get a restart from outside the Florida yellow line here. Gotta make sure we got the right ball in play. Coyle Chiropractic is located on Bartow Road in Lakeland. Dr. Mike Coyle is your local spine health specialist. Go to coilechiro.net and see their full list of services, read testimonials, and much more. It's coilechiro.net. Out of play, and so Florida will get a restart. Anthony Grant not able to corral it along the far boards for Kansas City. Arriaga overran the pass from Silva, but is able to track it down to Robbie. Aristodemo. Steal by Grant, and he shoots high and wide.
CBS Investment Advisors, partner.
Grant could have moved in a little closer, but decided he had an angle there from just outside the penalty arc. He's a little disgusted with himself after that effort.
688-1725. CBS Investment Advisors.
Long ball down to Brathwaite, but again it will fall right to the Comets. Here's Adam James with it, with a handball against Adam James. Quick restart for the Tropics. Here's Claire. Claire over to Aristodemo. Robbie will get it back to Alvis, and now ahead to Claire. Claire with a little space. James will pick him up at the yellow line. Claire with a shot off the glass. Nobody in front to collect a rebound for Florida. And here comes Grant back the other way. Grant, Aristodemo coming back. Nice play by Robbie. Gets it ahead to Andre Brathwaite. He and Sosa will go one-on-one. Oh, and a nice defensive play at the last second as the Tropics had a great chance in front. Here's Brathwaite. Brathwaite shot, that's blocked by James and goes right to Saxby. End-to-end action here, but no goals here in the third quarter so far. Ramon Palmer going to try and change that for Kansas City. Being double teamed in the corner, and Marangoni able to knock it out of harm's way for just a moment. Sosa with it. Over to Perez. Brian Perez gets it down to Leo Gibson. Arriaga on him, back to Perez now. Halfway through this third quarter. 5-3 Florida. Perez being watched by J.P. Reyes. Palmer gets it back out to Sosa. To Gibson, back to Palmer. Tried to get it in front to Perez, couldn't do it. Here's Marangoni. Let's see that speed. Enzo Marangoni, but Saxby able to knock it down as one of his defenders actually knocked it all the way back to him to knock Marangoni off the ball. Here's Diegues, or Pereiras rather, over to Marangoni. Marangoni gets it through to Diegues, tries the redirect. Good defensive play by Ellis in front. Pereira's going to come in, Diegues in there as well, but Kansas City will control. Pressure by Arico. Arico with the steal. He's taken down. That's got to be a card. And it is. So the Tropics will get a power play, the first one of the afternoon either way. I think Antonio Manfoot is saying maybe shootout, but it was not a last man back situation. But you can certainly see that Kevin Ellis made deliberate attempt to make contact and bring Arico down. Now, I don't know if they're going to give the shootout or not here. They're going to talk about it. It would have been a 2-on-1. So I don't know if there was a, yeah, I think they're going to say, Kansas City had a man back and therefore it was not a last man situation, or they, yeah, I think that's what the call will be. So it'll be a power play for the Tropics, but I think the officials got that one right, even though Florida will try and point out that Anthony Arico would have had a great scoring chance, and he would have, no question, but normally the shootout only comes if there's no defensive player back, and that's why the shootout was not given. So we will take an official's timeout here as the Tropics get ready to head to the power play. And as we said, the Comets are really good when it comes to when they have the man advantage. But when they are a man down, yeah, they're pretty good as well. 58% on the penalty kill so far this season. The Tropics power play efficiency, middle of the pack at about 46%. So we'll see what Clay Roberts in his third year as coach of the Florida Tropics has to say to his troops and set up strategy here for the next 2 minutes. Clay, the head men's coach at Southeastern University, an NAIA school, just a corner kick away here from the RP Funding Center. Of course, I think the NAIA still plays its men's basketball championship tournament out in Kansas City at Municipal Auditorium. Had the pleasure of calling a basketball game out there myself back in the 90s when the University at Buffalo was in the same league as UMKC. Of course, Buffalo making a big bid here in the NCAA. They'll be probably the highest seed ever for that school. Terrific year for the Bulls. The Municipal Auditorium, the answer to a pretty good trivia question, the arena in this country that has hosted the most NCAA Final Fours. They have hosted 9 times there back in the 40s and 50s at Municipal Auditorium. So quite a college basketball history in Kansas City. Hope your favorite team makes it here this afternoon. Have to check on St. Bonaventure. They grew up about 20 miles from the Western New York school during the Bob Lanier era. And they were trying to make a Cinderella run to the tournament. After a 4-10 season in the Atlantic 10, they have made it all the way to the conference championship game today. But it's Soccer Sunday right now here in Lakeland as the Tropics on the power play, taken away by Ramon Palmer. Pereiras with a nice sliding play and knocks it back to his goalkeeper, Hugo Silva. Here's Matt Clare with it. Clare down to Diegas. Ricardo. Back out to Victor, down to Ricardo. Ricardo with a shot. Go! Well, if it looks like they've done that once or twice, it's because they have. Victor Pereiras and Ricardo Diegas now playing together for their 8th season, going all the way back to UT Brownsville in college, and then with Brownsville in the MASL before they came over to be original members here of the Florida Tropics. And they just know each other so well where they're going to be on the floor, and Pereiras will pick up the assist on Ricardo Diegas' 18th of the season. And the Tropics have their biggest lead of the night, and here's Arico. Arico with a shot, Saxby with a save. Thought I actually had heard a whistle, but did not. And the Tropics almost had their 7th. Here's Flores with it.
18th goal of the season.
Hits it over to Kevin Ellis now. Ellis in some traffic, does a nice job to get it ahead to Nacho. Gets it into the box to Robbie Aristodamo. They'll get it out of trouble to Alves. Kansas City with a lot of pressure and a turnover now as the Tropics are unable to clear the zone. Manfoot with it. Manfoot gets it ahead to Brathwaite. Brathwaite one-on-one. He's got some good one-on-one skills. Decided to take the shot. Went with the element of surprise against Sosa, and he's such a good defender, that's not a bad idea. But Sosa makes the block.
6 days a week and bring your appetite. Il Forno, fresh Italian cuisine right here in Lakeland.
Off the boards in front, off the foot of Pereiras, but Saxby had that one well played. Comets with a counter now. Pereira's going to pick up Palmer. In front to Adams. Tried to do a little give and go, but never turned into anything. Brathwaite will slow it down here for Florida. JP Reyes will come out. Brathwaite will head to the bench. Victor Pereira's on, as is Ricardo Diegues. Got the bad shoulder, the bad wrist, but nothing wrong with his feet that we know of. Silva with it. He's played well tonight. Clay Roberts said if the Tropics win tonight, it's going to be because of defense. And so far, they've held the Comets to just 3. Here's Ruiz with it. Ruiz lays it off. Diegues. Shot. Goal! 2 in a row for Ricardo Diegues, and the Tropics have made it a 7-3 lead. The Tropics have not always been the best team with numbers up this year, but they absolutely make the Comets pay right there. So Diegues with 19 on the season now. Still a lot of time to go here. 3:46 in the third, and indoor soccer fans in Kansas City know a 4-goal lead with that much time is certainly not insurmountable. But the Tropics will try and keep putting the pressure on here. It's Maicon Franca taking a spot shift right now as Arico steps up. Here come the Comets trying to counter now.
That's his 19th goal of the season.
That's Grant with a shot. That's deflected out of play, so Kansas City will get a dangerous set piece here. Corner kick will come to the left of Hugo Silva here. Perez on top of the arc. Gibson as well. They'll lift it across to Gibson on the volley. Can't get it. And Alves will just try and clear it out of play. It hits the roof. Hits the ceiling here. And it'll be a... Well, the officials will have to discuss here, and I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know what the rule is on it hitting the ceiling here. Everyone has an opinion on the floor. Can tell you that. Comets want to restart at the top of the arc. I think it's going to be a restart for Kansas City at the yellow line, which is much less dangerous than the top of the arc, but dangerous nonetheless. Sosa will be the trigger man as Gibson to his left. Brian Perez will park himself down by the goal. Nice block of the wall by Alves and Maicon Franca. So it turns out to be a harmless situation. Like the speed that the Tropics have out there today. Marangoni's speed has been on display. Maicon Franca when he's out there. Even Robbie Aristodamo might be in his 40s, but still plays like a youngster. Great to have him on the floor or behind the bench anytime, his knowledge and skill. Here's a break for the Tropics again. Arico with it. Arico has trouble though. And Sosa finally back there to cause congestion along the boards. Franca tried to dig it out, but it'll roll to Saxby. Tropics so far with one of their best 3 quarters of the season. Lead at 7-3. And a reminder of just how good this Florida team could be this year. I know Kansas City is playing the second of back-to-back games, but Tropics played Friday night. And they just have not been close all year to having even anything resembling a full lineup on the floor. Here's a shot well wide by Rodriguez. Gibson will pick up the rebound. Knocks it in front. Ramon Palmer will track it down, being watched by Arriaga. No Guilherme since January, mid-January. He had 10 goals in 15 games, was off to a phenomenal start. Has not been back since. Lucas Monolaris and Lucas Teixeira, the team's top 2 defenders, remain out and have been out for weeks and weeks and weeks. Here's Ramon Palmer. Of course, Lucas Coutinho is a shot by Gibson, just goes wide, and on the rebound, Kansas City goal.
Goal for the Kansas City Comets.
I think it was Robert Palmer who collected the rebound and banged it home. So Kansas City back within 3. Just mentioning on the Tropics injuries, Lucas Coutinho, the Rookie of the Year for this team last year, had a great training camp. Big things expected for him this year. Went down with an injury in game 1, never to return. Here's a look at that Kansas City goal. The shot didn't miss by much, but nice sharp angle rebound by Palmer. And the key to that one is he got it away quickly. And Kansas City, a team kind of noted for shooting just about from any place, any time on the floor. And I would credit that in part to probably Kim Runtved. Been around this game long enough to know that so many crazy things can happen, that go ahead and take your chances. Because you'll get a bounce, you'll get a deflection, you'll get a rebound. Kansas City will shoot it as often as and is from many different spots on the floor as any team in the league. Drop ball along the far boards, controlled by Kansas City. Alves will bang it off the boards to his goalkeeper Silva, who will look for Andre Brathwaite on the outlet, and again it's out of play.
For all your design and every step of the way construction needs, call Rhoda Construction at 863-687-3778 or go to rhodaconstruction.com.
So it'll be a restart here from the top of the arc. Not sure what Leo Gibson is really complaining about here, unless it had something to do before that play, because Kansas City will get a favorable restart here. Chance for the Comets to really try and grab some momentum back here after giving up the first 2 goals of the 3rd quarter. Sosa will be on top again. Gibson to his left. Three-man wall for the Tropics. Down low, shot and a goal. A 5-hole goal again. That time it was Brian Perez. Seen more 5-hole goals this year than I can ever remember. And that's both ways. But Sosa had a sharp angle, and Silva trying to get over to cover and had to go between the legs. So Kansas City indeed with life here in the 3rd quarter. And we're right back to where we were at halftime. 2-goal Tropics lead. But tons and tons of soccer to play here this afternoon, so don't go away. Arriaga with it. Drives it deep into the Kansas City end of the floor, but Saxby able to easily collect that one. Adams gets by Pereira's. Victor trying to recover and does. Good play by Victor. Gets it ahead to Marangoni now. Marangoni waits to settle things down. Good idea. Gets it over to Victor. Pereira's being watched by Lucas Rodriguez. Now Ellis will challenge with some pressure on Silva. Ellis, and again Huga just clears the zone. I mean, gosh.
Domino's Pizza is the official takeout or delivery.
Got to have some options on the floor to get the ball to, and
because the Tropics already scored 4 goals tonight.
Tropics just not handling the pressure very well at all there, and again Kansas City with a great restart opportunity. Gibson with it, blocked by Arriaga. Sosa gets it back over to Leo. Leo shot, oh, that one just missed. Boy, you could see that one just ticketed for the far post. Here's Gibson again, shot, Silva with a big save. One of his best of the game, and Hugo is shaken up. He has been playing on a bad knee for a good portion of the season, and this one actually looks like a left arm or elbow injury. Don't know if it was on the shot or he might have banged it into the dasher boards on the save on Leo Gibson on the short side. But I'll tell you, that is always a heart in the throat moment for coaches around the league when they see their goalkeepers injured. Didn't see anything terribly untoward there. It may have just been the force of the shot by Gibson. I didn't see it hit the wall, but of course teams generally do not dress two goaltenders, and the Tropics no exception to that, Kansas City either. So if it comes to pass that you do have an injury in the game to your starting goalkeeper, you really end up having no choice but to essentially play with a sixth attacker the rest of the game. Now Clay Roberts is going to come out and check on Hugo. That was the situation in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago when the Tropics lost a heartbreaker to the ambush in overtime. Silva missing some time in the second quarter of that game, did come back and finish in the second half, but for a period of time in the second quarter of that game, he was on the bench getting medical treatment, and Victor Pereira's, who was checking on his compadre right now, put on the sixth attacker jersey in the second quarter. Silva, though, I think is going to be able to continue here. Just one of the many walking wounded for the Tropics here in 2018-19. It's been a disappointing season, no sugarcoating that. But a nice effort so far here this afternoon, and they would love to reward this St. Patrick's Day crowd with a win. Two more chances to do that as well. The 30th of March when Kansas City is back, and then the big fan appreciation night Saturday night, April 6th, when the Baltimore Blast will be in town. And if nothing else, both those games will be very, very big in terms of the playoff race as time winds down here in the third quarter. So no blood, so to speak. There might have been a little actually on the floor, but on the scoreboard, we're right where we were at the end of 30 minutes, 2 goals apiece in that third quarter, and the Florida Tropics will head to the final 15 minutes with a 7-5 lead. Don't go away, the fantastic finale is coming up. More Major Arena Soccer League action to come in just a moment. 15 minutes to decide it. The last 15 minutes pretty entertaining with 2 goals apiece. Ricardo Diegues with his 2 just a couple of minutes apart, but Kansas City with an answer. Palmer at 13:32, and just 7 seconds after that, Brian Perez on the restart goal makes it 7-5. So still anybody's game here as we head to the 4th quarter. They've gone final in Milwaukee, and indeed the Milwaukee Wave survived the scare from St. Louis after trailing 3-1 going into the 3rd quarter. The Wave with a big second half take home a 7-4 win. So St. Louis and their playoff drive takes a little bit of a hit. And the upset of the day, maybe of the season in the MASL. Don't know if there's a little backstory behind this one that we don't know about yet, but Mississauga goes into Utica and comes home, the Metro Stars, back to Toronto with a 9-3 win. Of course, they've got a new coaching staff that was put in place just a couple of weeks ago up there. Rick Titus now behind the bench, so congratulations to the Metro Stars. That is a significant win for them and a significant defeat for Utica. If Baltimore can beat Harrisburg later this afternoon, the Blast in Utica City would be in a flat-footed tie for first in the East. And of course, that will determine home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs, which is always something that is desirable. So keep an eye on that. Busy day around the MASL. Sure, all the action has been as entertaining as we've had here at the RP Funding Center this afternoon. Here's Leo Gibson being watched by Alvis now. Tried a little give and go, broken up by Brathwaite. Alvis with it, clears it ahead to Manfoot. And he's chopped down. Tagba going to be whistled for the foul. Antonio would love to get an anniversary goal for his folks in attendance here for their 3rd game. Assume they were in Orlando Friday night. They were here last Sunday. So they've seen the Sun score, but they have not seen the Sun win yet. So maybe they can get a little anniversary present via a Tropics win here this afternoon. But great to see them last week and have them part of the Tropics experience. Fans have really fallen in love with Antonio here, as Claire has a little trouble, picked up by Brian Perez now. Silva will come out, clears it to Ruiz, gets it to Arico, and Ruiz will track it down. Ruiz with some speed, still fights through, still with the ball, gives it to Brathwaite. Brathwaite got to get off the boards and finally knocked out of play. So Brathwaite's efforts, despite losing it, will result in a free kick from the top of the arc for Florida. Ricardo Diegues will come out along with Victor Pereiras. Manfoot will stay out there. Alvis and Brathwaite. Next goal in this game could be big, we'll see. Pereiras will lay it off Diegues. Shot, goal! Hit the back stanchion, no question about it, and came out. Almost didn't look like a goal. We'll take a look at the replay as Pereira sets up Diegues for his second, and you can see it hit the back woodwork. So it's a hat trick for Ricardo Diegues, who's looking for his second straight 4-goal performance here at home. And a big one for the Tropics as they get their 3-goal lead back. They've led by as many as 4. Kansas City on the counter, but Arriaga able to knock it back to Silva, who sends it into the Kansas City half of the field. So Diegues now with 20 on the year in just 14 games.
20th goal of the season.
He was an All-MASL honorable mention selection last week. Maybe we can get him onto the All-MASL first team this week. He has played so well here despite some injuries, but as we said, there have been upper body injuries, to use a hockey term. Shoulder and a wrist. Here's a nice little give and go. Silva, though, with a big save. Boy, he has come up big on several occasions, and that was one again right there. Ramon Palmer with a great scoring opportunity. Franca will give it to Alves. Alves will knock it into the Kansas City end of the field. Matt Clare with it. Matt Clare trying to get it in front. Diegues is all alone over there, but unfortunately Clare couldn't get it there, or Diegues would have easily had his fourth. Clare did his best. He was battling a couple of Kansas City defenders. Here's Rodriguez with it, being watched by Arriaga. Back on top now to Kevin Ellis. Still lots and lots of time. Kansas City knows that as well as anybody. And the Tropics certainly want to remain aggressive here. They have played a nice game so far this afternoon. Here's a layoff to Sosa. He can score from anywhere on the floor. Despite being a defender, he's one of the top Kansas City scorers. Shot and a goal. So there you go. It's 8-6, and we're not done, folks. I can assure you that. Well, I shouldn't say I could assure you that, but Kyle Williams gets on the score sheet. With just under 12 minutes to play, it's now 8-6. Sometimes those shots right along the turf are tough to stop, especially for bigger goaltenders like Hugo, who don't get down on the floor quite as easily as smaller goaltenders. And with his knee, and here's Diegues. Diegues, oh, with a chance, and Saxby came out to break that one up. There's a foul against Manfoot as he and Adam James collided right at the center line. Yeah, I don't think we're done at 8-6. I would be very surprised. Good read of the play by J.P. Reyes. And then he loses it over the sideboard, so Kansas City will get a restart. Anthony Grant will do the honors.
Since 1979.
Nope, he'll call up teammate Robert Palmer to do it instead.
Burgers and much, much more. Check out the menu at Shutters.com.
Here's Tagba. Tagba off the boards in front. Gibson was well positioned but couldn't quite control it. And Silva was able to cover up. Hugo over to Brathwaite. Ahead to Manfoot. Manfoot gets it to Arico. Arico knocked out of there by Saxby.
Lakeside Village here in England has an award-winning chef with a delicious menu to choose from. Come on in to watch your favorite sporting event on one of the many TVs, or they can cater your next get-together. Score big with the All-Star selection.
The Tropics again with a good opportunity.
Delicious steaks on the website, glorydaysgrill.com.
Gibson will be challenged by Arriaga, and he'll play it back to Tagba. Official score sheet going to give Kyle Williams that goal at the 3:12 mark. Perez with it, being watched by Clare. Aristodemo will step up with a little pressure, so Palmer will play it all the way back to Saxby. Diegues almost with a steal, but now a counter for the Comets. Aristodemo breaks it up briefly. Now Gibson has it, tried to hit it Perez in front. Aristodemo with it. Robbie tries to get it off the boards to Alves. Comets keep it in the zone. Gibson alone, shot, good recovery by Ricardo Diegues, who for the second straight week has played a terrific game at both ends of the field. Here's a shot, oh, and a great chance. My goodness, Robert Palmer would like that one back as he was left all alone. Nice through ball to Alves. He's looking for a hat trick. Thought he might have Diegues making a run, but Ricardo was not, or at least not where Alves put the ball. Here's a layoff and a chance now for Perez. Down to Gibson. Gibson shot. Silva with another good save. He anticipated that pass to Silva, or rather to Leo, and was able to knock it away. Arriaga gives it away. Here's a shot, and that just goes high over the glass by Williams. So chances at both ends of the floor.
food that is not only good to eat, but is
Diegas with his hat trick goal at 124. Williams with the answer at 3:12. The Comets actually led in the first quarter 3-2, but since the Tropics had gone up 7-3, Kansas City has not gotten any closer than 2. Foul against the Comets, so restart Florida. Brathwaite, long shot. Saxby knocks that out of there. J.P. Reyes will look to get it into the Kansas City box, but Zaxby just had enough room to collect it. Here comes a counter by Lucas Rodriguez. Rodriguez will have some pressure by Marangoni. Now the Comets, John Sosa will direct some traffic, gets it over to Tagba, and Kyle Ruiz will be called for the foul. Restart for Kansas City, about 10 feet inside the Florida yellow line. Tagba will do the honors, shot right on, and that time Silva got to the turf to cover it up, and that's vintage Hugo Silva right there. One of his strong suits normally is not allowing a lot of rebounds, and he hoovered that one perfectly. Pereiras will play it back to Hugo now. Ahead for Antonio Manfoot. Tagba bangs into him. Manfoot tries to keep it alive. It'll go out of play off the official, but it don't say Florida ball here. Rico will reset the offense back to Pereiras, and now J.P. Reyes. Back over to Pereiras. Careful here. Pereiras can't control it. Here's a chance for Kansas City, and a shot goes high and over the glass. I think that was Rodriguez who had the opportunity. It was. And he did not miss by much, as Pereiras had a little trouble with it in his own end of the field. A lot of teams around the league believe the Tropics are a team that can be pressured. Here's Manfoot header, oh, and a great save by Mark Zaxby. A great just reaction save. He didn't have time to do anything other than that, as Manfoot made a bid for a goal. It'll be a corner kick to the right of Zaxby. Manfoot to Pereiras. Pereiras shot, goal! Victor Pereiras with his second of the night. Zaxby got a piece of it, but it was so well struck that it just continued to carry into the back of the net. And once again, Florida has its 3-goal advantage back. It's 9-6. So Ricardo Diegas and Victor Pereiras accounting for 5 of the Tropics' 9 goals tonight, as we have a timeout on the floor to set strategy one last time for Kim Ruttman and the Tropics, or the Comets, and Clay Roberts and the Tropics. We'll see if the Comets want to go to a 6th attacker quite this quickly. They may not. Zach Saxby has come to the huddle to hear what the strategy may be. But I think for the time being, he will stay out there. As we said, each of these teams with 4 games left on the regular season schedule. For the Tropics on the road next weekend, Saturday, March 23rd in Milwaukee. And then back home here against the Comets, not quite 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks and a day less. It'll be a Saturday night special, March 30th. And then the Tropics will wrap up their regular home season on the 6th against Baltimore, before wrapping up the whole season on the road in Orlando against the Seawolves. The Comets with 4 games remaining as well. Their last home game comes next Saturday, the 23rd, a big one, against the St. Louis Ambush, who almost pulled the upset in Milwaukee this afternoon, but did not. So Kansas City will not lose any ground to St. Louis in the playoff chase. They are a game up on the ambush, and that's how it will stand going into next Saturday if the Comets cannot complete a comeback here this afternoon, but certainly not saying they can't with almost 8 minutes to go. Saxby will return to goal here for Kansas City, so no sixth attacker yet. But would not be surprised in a couple of minutes to see the Comets go that route. But they would like to see if they could get maybe one here in the next minute or two to make it a 2-goal game again. Every time they have climbed to within 2, the Tropics have had an answer. So Victor Pereiras with 12 now on the season.
With the assist from number 3, Antonio.
And here's a dangerous long ball that Hugo had to knock off the crossbar and play and make sure stayed out of the goal. Well, the way things have gone for Florida this year, wouldn't have been a surprise probably if that one found a way to get over the line. Manfoot with a takeaway in the Kansas City end of the field, being watched by Perez. Manfoot still with it, tried to get it in front to Brathwaite. Couldn't do it, and Alvis will let it go all the way back to Hugo Silva. Of course, the goalkeepers can now that it's the fourth quarter. Here's Arriaga, had a lot of space. Gets it down to Brathwaite. Brathwaite off the boards, tried to get Arriaga, but couldn't get it back. Challenged now by Matt Clare, but here comes Anthony Grant. Grant from a tough angle, shot and a goal. Oh, goodness. Hugo would like that one back, but the Comets indeed get that one that they were hoping for without the sixth attacker. Still almost 7 minutes to go. There's another look at it. Is just a fairly simple shot to the short side. Don't know if Hugo might have been shading to think there was a pass coming across the box and had just a little bit of momentum going the wrong way, but snuck through the short side. Saxby will clear it off the glass. Diegas has it. Diegas shot. Goal! Well, we said the Tropics have had an answer all night long, and they do again. Ricardo Diegas with his 4th of the game. And Hugo Silva all the way down the floor to congratulate his forward, and why not? And Ricardo says, hey, buddy, that one's for you. Saxby with a giveaway, tried to clear the zone off the glass, and it went right to Ricardo, who bangs it home. 10-7 Tropics. Here's Manfoot in a race with Ellis. Manfoot, shot, goal! Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Antonio Jose Manfoot gets his 1st of the game, and the Tropics again have a 4-goal lead. Tough second half here for Mark Saxby, who's kind of beside himself in goal. And indeed, the Comets will go to the 6th attacker here. It has not been a goaltender's delight either way, really, this afternoon, although both goaltenders, 17 goals, you'd think sounds a little crazy to say, have had big saves. They both have, but there have also been a few each way that both Saxby and Hugo Silva would like to have back. But the Tropics, with a 10-goal outburst here this afternoon, lead at 10-6 still. 6.5 minutes left to play. So there is time in this crazy sport of indoor soccer for the Comets to rally, and we know they are dangerous. So with Manfoot's mom and dad here at the RP Funding Center this afternoon, celebrating an anniversary trip to the Sunshine State. They see their son score just 14 seconds after Ricardo Dieguez had made it 10-7. So it's an 11 spot now for the Tropics. And that is a high water mark this season for Florida. And folks in St. Louis and Orlando cheering along with this RP funding crowd here this afternoon, because the playoff race will continue to stay very tight unless Kansas City can mount a major comeback. Not out of the question, though. Sixth attacker time here for Kansas City. Leo Gibson out with it now. Of course, high risk, high reward strategy. Gibson with a shot blocked by Alvis. Comes all the way back out to Brian Perez. Gets it on the right side to Tagba. Gibson with it now. Chips across to Tagba. Inside 6 to play. Chance in front. Silva thought about maybe trying to throw it the length of the field. Didn't. Here's Ruiz with it. Gibson back. Here's Arriaga now. Arriaga 1 against 2. He and Tagba with a little contact, but Kansas City will come out of there with it. Pressure briefly by Arrico. Tagba gets the return pass. Arrico bangs it off the boards. Arriaga gets the zone cleared, at least briefly. Ruiz trying to challenge, and that one will stay in play, whistle on a foul. Brian Perez wants a blue card, but none forthcoming, I don't believe. Although now there's one coming. That was late. Anthony Arrico going to be sent to the box. So Kansas City will be very dangerous here on the power play, not only with the man advantage, but a 6th attacker already, the best penalty or man advantage team in the league. So this will be quite a challenge here for the Tropics. Still 5:11 to go. Tropics will play kind of a 1-2-1 diamond defense here to try and keep Kansas City off the clock. Here's a header, or off the board. Silva with a save. Aristodamo out there with J.P. Reyes, Fibo Arriaga, and Rafa Alves. Tagba taken down, whistle and a foul against Florida. Gibson with it along the far boards. Rolls through to Silva, who's able to corral it. He's going to throw it the length of the floor, and if it had been on target, it would have been a shorthanded goal. He has scored one this year, although it was not on a throw-in. He actually connected from about 70 feet out against Milwaukee in that 10-9 loss against the Wave here. Another one of those heartbreaking losses. Down to 1:10 on the power play. Here's a turn shot goal. Kyle Williams with his second.
Goal for the Kansas City Comets.
So Kansas City back within 3. Just a turn at the top of the arc and a well-placed shot. Nothing Silva could do with that one. Goals in the indoor game are 14 feet wide and 8 feet tall, and Kyle Williams taking advantage of all 14 feet and all 8 feet. So the power play is successful. Here's Manfoot. Manfoot in the corner. And he lifts it over the glass and out of play. No surprise that the top-ranked power play in the MASL converts, especially it was, for all practical purposes, a 2-man advantage with Kevin Ellis out there as the 6th attacker. Intercept by Arico. Arico being challenged by Williams. Williams with a pair now. Arico will run a little clock. Gets it back to Alvis. Over to J.P. Reyes. Gibson with a little bit of pressure. Now some pressure by Kevin Ellis. Cleared out of there by Silva, and it goes out of play. So it'll be a throw in here for, or a kick in rather, for Kansas City. Inside 4 minutes to go. Got 2 balls out on the floor. Hang on here, guys. Guys, hang on. We got 2 balls out on the floor. Anthony Arico will take care of that. And Kansas City will put it in play. Kim Rudven not happy about something. Clay Roberts equally is unhappy, so I'm not really sure what the... Now they're going to reset the clock, I think. Guess that was what Kim Rudven wanted, a few extra seconds. That's certainly smart. Don't know how this will play out here, and it'll be a restart and a kick in for Kansas City nonetheless. So Comets still with time, down 3 with 3:45 to play. 6th attacker on. This is Perez with it. Chipped ahead by Anthony Arico. Brathwaite in a foot race. Brathwaite, and Brian Perez, and Brathwaite going to be whistled for the foul. And then Manfoot shoved to the turf by Perez. Yeah, that's got to be, that should absolutely be a blue card. I mean, that was a flagrant from behind push. And Brian Perez going to complain, but there's no question that that was A, deliberate, and B, pretty toasty, as you can see it right there. So Perez a little unhappy at the moment because he wanted the restart. But Perez is going to be called for 2 minutes, so Kansas City will keep the 6th attacker on, but essentially now it becomes a 5-on-5 game with Mark Saxby still on the bench. Matt Clare, Victor Pereira, and Ricardo Dieguez now up front for Kansas City, who down 3 really can't just lay back and try and kill the penalty. They have to try and remain aggressive, even though it's essentially even strength. Here's Leo Gibson down low. Alvis knocks it away temporarily. Gibson gets it back, tries to play it off the boards. Still has it. Plays it through the box, was looking for Robert Palmer. Here's Arico with it. Palmer challenging him. Arico trying to get by using the board. Still has it. Dieguez turns, fires, goal! And that's a history maker for the Florida Tropics. First player in franchise history to have a 5-goal game. And who else but Ricardo Dieguez? Now with 22 on the season. And Florida trying to pour it on. Now they lead it 12-8. So 4 last weekend against St. Louis for Dieguez, 5 this afternoon for the high-flying forward who had shared the record with Mauricio Salas. Ironically, both Dieguez and Salas did it in the same game. That was last February in Harrisburg when they beat the Heat 12-9. But Dieguez rewrites the Tropics record book tonight. And if we can't get first team all MASL honors this week, and not sure when that might happen. He was an honorable mention last week after his 4-goal game.
That's his 5th goal of the game and 22nd goal of the season. Woo!
Power play goal, of course, for Dieguez, even though it was 5-a-side. Kansas City going to continue with the 6th attacker here, but looks like they're going to leave the Sunshine State with a split of their weekend games, a win last night in Orlando and a loss here this afternoon in Lakeland. Saved by Silva on the shot by Kyle Williams. Silva making a bid for a goal. Why not? Here's Gibson. Gets it down low to Tagba. Off the glass in front. Controlled by the Comets out at the yellow line. Thought Perez would maybe pull the trigger from distance. Decided to feed it down low to Grant. Now back on top. Gibson will send it into the box. Aristodemo will knock it out of there as we're down to 1:40 to go. Tropics on the verge of their 6th win of the season and breaking a 2-game losing streak. They are yet to win back-to-back games this year, but a nice win in front of a good home crowd here this afternoon. Aristodemo to Gibson all alone, blocked in front by Reyes. Good defensive play by the veteran J.P. Reyes. Sosa, or rather Perez, will track it down here for Kansas City. Will fall back to 500 on the season. At 10-10, Gibson in front with a chance. Misses. Aristodemo can't clear it. Picked up by Williams. He's looking for a hat trick. Gibson with it to Williams. On top to Grant. Grant looking for some space. Can't find it as both Kyle Ruiz and J.P. Reyes shut him down, then taken away. Shot, and that goes well wide by James Tagba.
Ladies and gentlemen, on his last goal, your Florida Tropics forward, number 9, Ricardo Diaz, set the all-time MASL record with 5 goals in a game.
I don't believe that's quite right. Don't think it's the MASL record, but it is the Florida Tropics record. But that's all right. Fans here at the RP Funding Center.
That's the most goals ever scored in a game in the history of your Florida Tropics.
And now they got it right. Here's Aristodemo trying to get it ahead to Pereira. Chasing it down is Perez. Final 20 seconds to go. Don't want to get anybody injured here. Pereira with a little pressure. Alvis will come in with some pressure as well. Comets will clear the zone. Comets will fall to 10-10. Orlando St. Louis happy about this result. The Tropics improved to 6-14 now as Silva and Kyle Williams collide at the buzzer. A big afternoon here at the RP Funding Center for the Florida Tropics. Ricardo Dieguez with a franchise record 5 goals. There he is getting congratulations from one of the greats of the indoor game, Kim Rundved, as Ricardo Dieguez lifts the Florida Tropics to a win here this afternoon. Green beers all around for that man. A big afternoon as the Tropics beat the Kansas City Comets. The final, once again, Florida 12, Kansas City 8. Back to wrap things up in just a moment. I don't know, can you say Ricardo Dieguez? Because he had the luck of the Irish this afternoon, although it was mostly skill for Ricardo, who sets a Tropics franchise record with 5 goals this afternoon. He had that 4-goal game a week ago, and how do you do it for an encore? Well, 5 against the Comets this afternoon, 12-8 the final. As we said, the Tropics improved to 6-14, and at least mathematically keep their playoff hopes alive, although they are slim at best. Kansas City will continue to set the pace for second place in the division at 10-10 as Ricardo Diegues beat Saxby there, and he did it 4 times tonight. It was just a great evening for the Florida Tropics and Ricardo Diegues as they come home winners. The Tropics will be on the road next Saturday in Milwaukee. Kansas City will be home next Saturday. A big showdown against the St. Louis Ambush. Thanks for joining us from the RP Funding Center this afternoon. Mark Saxby will have a tough night tonight, probably a couple of nightmares. He'll think about Ricardo Diegues in those dreams as the Tropics win it by a final score of 12-8. Have a great week, everybody.